This needs to happen right now. Okay. Okay, so we are live. All right. I just want to thank everybody again for watching the show. We are back today. And we're having a lot of technical issues because I just froze on my screen, so I wasn't quite sure what was going on. But yeah, we're going to talk about politics. There's a lot of stuff that's going on right now in our country. We have had the death of a Supreme Court justice who was a trailblazer. We had Andrew Gillum just gave an interview about the scandal that he had. ICE is sterilizing people. Kanye West is on several ballots in several states, so his campaign seems to be actually gaining traction, and he just spent $1.5 million on staffers and people to do analytics for his campaign. So I wanted to bring on a couple of my friends to talk about what's going on politically and kind of get their opinions on what's going on. So I'm going to introduce the two people that I'm going to bring on as guests. And they're really two good friends of mine. They have been on the show before. I definitely value their opinions because they're actually doing the work. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. The first one that I want to introduce is my good friend, China. China is currently the national political director of Ford Majority. She has nearly 2 decades of experience in political campaigns, community development, and government. Her career includes service with the Peace Corps in El Salvador as manager of state engagement at Emily's List. Most recently, China was senior advisor to Dion Reader for his DC City Council and campaign manager for now Congresswoman Lauren Underwood. Then I want to also introduce my good friend Anton Moore. Anton Moore is the executive director of Unity in the Community here in Philadelphia, which is a nonprofit organization that deals with gun violence prevention in South Philadelphia. In addition to that, Anton Moore is the ward leader of the 48th Ward, and he's the youngest ward leader in the city of Philadelphia. Also, Anton spoke on stage at the National Convention in 2016. All right, so let me go ahead without further ado and bring in both these great guests of mine. And I'm going to I want to start with Kanye West because I feel like this conversation is going to be the one that's going to go by the quickest. When Kanye West decided that he was going to announce to run for president, I was actually kind of shocked and entertained by it all. For me, politics is like watching a good reality TV show. Kanye West actually is on the ballots in several states. It looks like he's on the ballot in Colorado and Minnesota, which are both won by Democrats by slim margins. He's also on the ballot in Kentucky, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Utah, Idaho, Iowa, Tennessee, Vermont, and he's waiting for a court decision for Mississippi. So he's not on the ballot in enough states to actually win the presidential election, but he's actually on there. And he has said in several instances that he feels that he may not necessarily win this race, but he definitely believes that he will end up becoming president. How do you guys feel about what's going on with Kanye West? And I'll go ahead and start with China.
Yeah, so I actually, well, first of all, let me say, I get it, right? Like, I get the sentiment in this country, particularly if we recall that Cardi B, when Hillary and Bernie were running, is when she first really started getting politically engaged publicly. And she talked about taxes and, things like that were issues for her. I get a regular or even a celebrity feeling like, the folks that we traditionally have running are not representative of the country, right? So I get why he thinks, okay, I need to do something. However, running for president is not the way to go simply because of the vote splitting, one, And two, he doesn't actually have an understanding of how things work, which is evident by him running for president. Now, I will say, different from my last statement, he did recently do an interview with Nick Cannon. I'm not sure if folks saw that, where he talked about this and Nick Cannon pushed back on him, right? That this is not the way to do it. He made a very good point, Alex, and he said, if you would vote for me, you would have not voted for Biden in the first place, or Trump, right? So that is the point. So it's not like he's splitting the vote. It's like he is bringing in people who would not have voted for either candidate in the first place. So I'm kind of mixed about it. I'll lastly say about this, again, I get it. I get that people are frustrated. I get that they think that no one in the establishment, Trump nor Biden, currently represents their interests. But I also just wish that Kanye would put his energy behind someone who actually knows what they're doing.
That's a good point. What do you say, Anton?
Kanye is a crybaby. Kanye is like a kid that's sitting in a daycare that wants attention. And he's willing to spark any conversation, create any debate, create something to put himself in front of the camera. You know what I mean? We know damn well Kanye West doesn't care nothing about being the president of the United States. But what I will say about Kanye, that what frustrates me about Kanye is he needs to direct his energy into something else. Because clearly, even the points that he makes when he speaks, you look at him and say, Kanye, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? He even goes off on his friends about, crazy issues. So when I look at Kanye, but you know what? I was taking it a step further. I wouldn't be surprised if Jared Kushner is not behind all this. I wouldn't be surprised.
Anton, he said he just recently met with Jared Kushner, and they actually have a lot in common. He said that on the Nick Cannon show.
And basically, when you say a lot in common, that means we're in cahoots together. You get what I'm saying? You're not listening.
So let me say this. So Kanye, they pushed back at Kanye and said, Kanye, are you running because the Republican Party or they're paying you to do this? And his response was, I make more money than Trump does. I have more money than he does. So there's no reason for me to be trying to do this or to get paid or to get any type of clout.
The thing about it is the power. You get what I'm saying? Look at Donald Trump. He's richer than a president. You get what I'm saying? He was richer than former presidents. It was about the power to be able to delegate and get things moving. That's why he took the risk of doing this. You get what I'm saying? So when I look at Kanye West is an opportunist. He wants to be in that spotlight. He wants to have that power, and he wants to be the topic of conversation.
Well, Anton, some would say he's doing the same thing Trump did, that Trump didn't actually think he could actually win, right? It's just they're narcissists that enjoy attention. So they just did it for the attention.
I'm with you. Yep.
So, I don't know how I feel about this, but I will say this. I mean, usually the people who are the outliers, who are not a part of the two major parties, don't really get that much attention. And so, I think that in order to kind of push some of these to push some of these things, we should probably kind of bring candidates that are necessary outside of the main focus or the main line into the focus. I'll go ahead and move past this because at the end of the day, my opinion about Kanye West is that, I think he does have mental health problems, but what person who is running for public office on a major scale does not have some sort of a certifiable, at least some sort of narcissistic tendencies to be able to believe that they are the only person that can actually change the country. So I think that anybody that is running for huge major offices or running for public spaces like this has some sort of narcissistic tendencies or behaviors. So we can't just pass Kanye off saying that he just has problems. So, that's just my
Alex,
opinion.
So you ran for office, Alex, and I think you should run again. So what is that saying about what are you saying about yourself?
I said, I think that all of us lie on some sort of a spectrum. All of us deal with some sort of a mental health problem. So I get it. I'm just saying, right? Nobody's perfect. That's really what it is. And if Donald Trump is able to be the president, I think that Kanye West is not a far far cry away from it. And most of the time, running for office is really about name recognition. And Kanye West has massive name recognition in our country, just like Donald Trump did. Donald Trump doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So I guess leading into that, talking about Donald Trump winning and anything being possible, I was watching an interview the other day, and I'm a huge Andrew Gillum fan. I kind of felt like it was a huge loss to our politics to lose a politician like Andrew Gillum. I felt like he was a rising star, and I felt like he was a rising star in our party. I felt like he was the second coming of Obama, but on the liberal side. I mean, when he came into the space, immediately Bernie Sanders endorsed him, and they were running in Florida, and he won, and he lost by like a very, very, very slim margin. Made history, was the youngest, I think, on the commission. And I think, I'm not sure which city he was on the council there, but then also became mayor and then became a rising star in politics. They found this man in the bathroom laying in his own vomit, naked, with two male prostitutes in the room with them, and police coming in. I'm not sure if you got a chance to watch the interview, but I was actually kind of moved by the story. And I've always had a soft spot and some sympathy for him because he was a rising star, and I felt like he was set up. It was almost like Marion Barry, like it almost felt like that, right? So what did you guys? First, the question is, did you guys actually see the interview?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And so so what did you guys think about? Well, what did you all think about the interview? And I'll let Anton go first on this one because I let you go first the last time, China.
I think he was honest and upfront, during this interview. And I think that this is something that his wife has known for a very long time. I think it's a personal matter and a personal issue. You get what I'm saying? And to be honest with you, people make mistakes. What politician that doesn't make mistakes? He admitted to what he did. You know what I mean? He's getting help. I don't think this should hold him back from his future endeavors and what he tries to become in the near future. Because one of the reasons why people hate politics is because we play this game, and not we, but people play this game of you have to be this perfect angel that's walking on a straight line, and that's not what people are looking for.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry, I was reading one of the comments that just came up. They was like, set up how? Are you
saying for somebody who's been through some things?
They was like, are you saying he did solicit sex from these men? In the interview, he said that he was meeting up with friends that
I think somebody freezing. I don't know if it's me.
We're freezing. Can you hear me? No, I don't.
I see everyone fine.
I see everybody fine too.
Cool.
You don't seem like you frozen. Okay,
we're fine.
So in the interview, he said that that he was meeting with friends, and that he went there to have a drink, and it was only one friend. The guy made the drink for him. He remembers having the drink and then coming back and waking up on the bathroom floor, laying in his own vomit with police surrounding him, and the police questioning him, saying that somebody overdosed. So just to lay that groundwork, this is what he said. And I personally, like I said, like that's why I really feel like he was set up, because it was it was a really random situation. And I'll say this too. It was happening during the time that in the primary where the campaigns were both pivoting to Florida. And like I said before, he had just been endorsed. He was endorsed by Bernie Sanders when he ran then in the first place. So 9 times out of 10, I would have thought that he probably would have went and endorsed Bernie Sanders, which probably would have gave Bernie Sanders some leverage in Florida that he did not have before. That's probably one of the reasons why Bernie Sanders endorsed him in the first place, playing politics. So what do you think about this, China?
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you that it was a setup. I think what the commenter, Kat Morris, might be getting at is the question of, was he set up to do this, right? like he or she is saying he didn't solicit sex from these men. I think that's a different question from, listen, and as a person who is a political strategist who often has to do this like Olivia Pope type work, right? And I actually know Andrew personally and talk to him enough. I won't tell you what our personal conversations have been around this, but I will say, I think what happens is that as politicians, and I'll give the example as like a rapper or an athlete, right, who is immediately thrown into some sort of celebrity. It is true that Andrew was the mayor of Tallahassee, but it's Tallahassee. It wasn't New York City or like Atlanta, Georgia, or it's Tallahassee, right? And so I think, he was thrown into this celebrity, a very popular race, endorsed by Bernie Sanders. I mean, he, like you said, Alex, in introducing this conversation, he was like the next Obama, and no one is the next Obama, but he was actually the closest to being the next Obama, and that means then that when you get into situations like he did, of course, someone wants to record it and snap a picture to send to TMZ or whoever, right? You have to watch the people who you originally trusted, because now they have motive, right, to record whatever you're doing. That is the part that's the setup, right? Like, no, I was going to hang out with you and I was going to do whatever I did, but we always do that. Why this time were there pictures or video or whatever? That is the part that's the setup, like we gave the example of Marion Barry. So again, the interview, I didn't think that he should do, to be honest, because I think you should give some time in between these things. The substance of the interview, I don't know how to feel about that. Again, Andrew is I would say a personal associate or friend of mine, so I want to be sensitive about that. But I do think that Andrew has a future in politics, and he just needs to continue, or I would say, and I'll say this, he needs to be more careful and have advisors that are considering the long game. Because sometimes you can even have advisors that are much more self-interested.
Yeah.
If I say that. Yeah.
Well, my thing is with him was that he, I think it humanized him. Because everybody had created these stories. You got to understand too that it was Candace Owens, I think her name is Owens, that the black conservative female who broke the story in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. And then two, after she broke the story, everybody was like, oh, he's gay. Oh, he had these two prostitutes. Oh, he was cheating on his wife. He's on a DL. Oh, like, all these stories started to swirl and surround. And first, when I was introduced to the whole situation, I was brokenhearted. I was defending him. I was just like, no, I don't think he was gay. I don't know if he's gay or not. That's not my thing to put up there or say, even though like I wouldn't mind him being gay, because personally, I personally wouldn't mind being gay. But I was just like, I'm not about to put this on this man. I don't know what happened to him. Politics can be a dirty game. Who knows who did what to this man? And so when they were putting it out there, I mean, it was just like all these things for him to go on national TV and to have the conversation and to say, look, first, I had a commitment with my wife. You know what I'm saying? She completely, well, first, I acknowledge that I am bisexual. Right there, brave. He's in a very conservative state. And I'm sure in that state, it probably would have been very difficult for him to run as somebody who is identifying as bisexual in the first place, regardless if he's married to a woman, because there's a whole bunch of negative things that swirl around that in the first place. Two, and then for his wife to say, look, we had a covenant. I knew about this from the beginning. I stood by my husband. I find it to be concerning that now it was different when it was just me and him knowing about it. But now me, him, and the whole world know about it, and all the information and stuff that's coming at me about this. Like, because I'm sure you got you always have that wild friend that's going to be like, girl, this your man is gay. He out here cheating on you, blah, 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 blah. That's very difficult to deal with, especially when you're living in public life. So I felt like it humanized him. I mean, what do you think?
Alex, I'll say this, even if I were advising you, anyone, don't ever do an interview that's going to lead to more questions.
What do you think the questions would be?
So the questions that people are asking now. The interesting thing about this is that Andrew was very popular, and so is his wife, in college.
Mm-hmm.
There are people from Florida who know him who have a different story than what he told on the Tamron Hall show.
Oh,
right. So the problem is what you said on the show is different from the people who have known you for multiple years. And they are all saying the exact same thing, different from what you said. This is why I'm saying I have advised you to go on the show now. To your point, though, Alex, let's be clear. The folks in Florida who knew you, who have a different story, they aren't, God bless them, like necessarily revealing all of this, right? So the nation doesn't know about it because Tamron Hall is a national show. The nation doesn't know about it. So whatever you said on the show, for the most part, everyone, of course, is going to, oh, that's what he said, so that's what it is. If you ever decide to do something again, though, specific to Florida, like not running for president or not running for U.S., not running for president,
mm-hmm.
the people actually in Florida know something differently than what you said. Okay. So that's why I would not have advised him to do the show, not now. Now I'll say one more thing. Some folks, the other side of this, which I agree with as well, some folks will say, well, China, the pandemic is happening, the election is happening, police brutality is happening. This would be the time for you to do the interview because then it could be swept under the rug, right? So now you don't have to come out next year when everyone actually needs something to pay attention to, right? So I could see it both ways, but my general advice is don't ever do an interview that's going to lead to more questions. When you do an interview, you should be able to shut down any questions anyone has.
Yeah.
It's going to lead to more.
Look, I mean, I believe that, I think that, and one of the things is I think that he still has a chance.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
I think that it may not necessarily be in Florida because it's a very conservative state. And I mean, well, it's a purple state and it's up for grabs to flip blue or red. And so like, I don't know if it's going to be in Florida, but I do think that he still has a career in politics. I hope that he comes back. I mean, like, I really do hope that he comes back.
Great guy.
Because he's an amazing guy.
And he's really pure about his intentions for the community. Right? Like he's really actually a great guy, very intelligent, very charismatic, attractive, all of the things that matter for when you're running for office, tall, family, all of the things that matter he has. The other question though, Alex, and we don't have to talk about this, but always people should keep in the back of their head, his wife also now has the opportunity to run for office.
You know what? Actually, she would probably be the smarter choice to kind of put out there because now she has a whole lot of sympathy. I mean, if we want to talk about how people view others, I mean, one, you stood by your man, you saw yourself a good man, and you married him anyway, in spite of his flaws. And even now you're standing by him. And so now you decide, you know what? Look, let me get out here and still do the work that I could have done as First Lady of Florida, and she would win overwhelmingly in certain spaces because a lot of people would feel sympathy for her story. And that's the sad part about politics, right? Because everything is about perception. It's not necessarily about who has the best policy. It's about who you feel connected to the most. And you decide that you want to just give them a chance. And it may not necessarily be about what they know. It's about how you feel towards them.
It's a popularity contest. Yeah, you're right. That's right.
That's the sad thing about politics. It seems like we may have lost Anton, but I mean, it's fine. Me and you can we can do this. If he comes back on, he'll come back. I wanted to kind of pivot to the next topic, which is Justice Ginsburg, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing. When I saw that, and I feel bad that I felt this way. I really feel bad that I felt this way. But the first thing I was just like was, she should have stepped down when Barack Obama asked her to in the first place. Now, because of her hubris, we are stuck in a position of dealing with a psychopath in the White House, choosing another Supreme Court justice, And because her hubris, we're about to deal with probably a set of conservative justices for the next foreseeable generation. So beyond all that, I love Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I loved what she stood for. I thought that she was an amazing person. Oh, we're about to get another edition. A good friend, Rashad. There you go. Hey, Rashad.
Hi, Alex. Hi, China.
Hello.
We're talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We just got finished talking about Andrew Gillum. If you want to hit on one of those topics, you're more than welcome. But we're talking about Justice Ginsburg now. I just said that I was kind of upset because I was just like, Ruth should have Justice Ginsburg should have stepped down when Barack Obama asked her to in the first place. And if she would have did that, we wouldn't be in this position because Barack Obama would have been able to pick a Supreme Court justice. Republicans are now salivating over this open seat. And they're saying, and Donald Trump has vowed to release his pick by Saturday. So we had Mitt Romney come out today saying that he will vote if it's brought to the floor. And so they now have 53 Republican senators that will vote for a Supreme Court justice that's presented by the president. What do you guys say about this? And I can let you go first, China. Right.
So I think so a couple of things. One, I think that it is this is going to sound in a way hypocritical. What I do know, let's just like, for example, the Congressional Black Caucus, right? Or shoot, not just them, any white man as well. When you have a lifetime appointment to a seat, right, including Congress, Senate, or whatever, you sit in that seat until you die. Lewis, Cummings, you know, like there's so many examples of this. And to be honest, these people, this is where I feel compassion or even empathy for them. Eleanor Holmes Norton has said, because people have said to her, she needs to get out of the seat, right? She needs to find someone to mentor and to encourage. And that way her legacy will live on, that she essentially chose this person, right? But she will say to you, unless you became a congressional member as a Black woman during a time where there weren't even bathrooms for women on the Hill, then you can't tell me to not stay here for as long as I want to. And if that's until my last breath, then that's what I'm going to do. Now, of course, Alex, there's some ego in that, a lot of ego in that, right? And I disagree. And I think that, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she should have chosen someone. I mean, she could have influenced who was the next person, right? But I also am empathetic enough to understand that if I got into this, she was the first Jewish woman, right? I think the second woman, right? If I got into this seat as one of the first, I could imagine how my ego could get in the way and I want to stay. So that part, again, I get both sides. I do think that, and you didn't ask this question, I don't know if we're going to talk about it, so I won't stay on it too long. How the Democrats are about to handle this, I'm just going to admit I kind of disagree with this whole blocking Trump and blocking McConnell from doing what they want to do. And this is the last piece I'll say, because truth be told, Harry Reid set up this entire situation of not now having a requirement of the supermajority. Harry Reid set this up. Only now required a simple majority to get people through. That was Harry. He's a Democrat. So it is not the fault of the Republicans that now you don't need a supermajority to get a Supreme Court nominee through. The Democrats did that.
Okay, so I would say that when Harry Reid did it, I kind of agreed with him because they was blocking all the nominations of the district court. I think it was the district court judges.
Yeah, long game, Alex.
Yeah, long game. We eventually, at some point, we were going to be in the majority. I mean, we're going to be in the minority, and eventually, at some point, it was going to come back to bite us in the ass. Of course, but still, what say you, Rashad?
I have a lot of thoughts. And China, thank you for sharing so many of those great points. But I will say this: I am personally annoyed with everyone is saying what you're saying, Alex, that she should have stepped down. We don't require anybody to do the quote unquote right thing in this country except Black people and women. No one is upset for none of the men. There are liberal men on the bench. Why weren't they asked to step down? Why wasn't a liberal white man who's on the bench asked to step down to make room for a Black woman? And I wait.
You see, I think that's beyond the point. I think
No,
that
it's not. It's not beyond the point. We can't
he was
say that
having health issues.
we cannot say we want fairness and we want justice and we want all of these things, but the only people we want that from are the most law-abiding citizens and the Black people and women. That's all I'm
So,
gonna say.
but still, like and I'm gonna push back on this. I mean, I understand. I mean, like I said, I mean, I've seen all the documentaries on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I think that she was a brilliant mind, an amazing trailblazer, all those things. I mean, I think that she gets every bit of deserving to being the first woman to lie in state in the Capitol. Although the first woman to lie in honor was Rosa Parks. So I mean, and there's two differences on what it means to lie in state and what it means to lie in honor. We're not going to go into that, but I mean, I think that she deserves all the accolades and everything that was going. But from a strategic standpoint, I think that, and I agree. I mean, I think that sometimes we put a little bit more pressure on Black people or minorities and women to do the right thing. But I mean, regardless of the fact, and we talked about before with politicians being a little bit of egotistical and narcissistic. I mean, like I think that should become a general culture of people just doing the right thing and thinking of the long term. I mean, like at the end of the day, I mean, Republicans now, we are asking them to do the right thing, right? And these are all majority white men. We're saying you started a rule, you set a precedent, and you have Mitt Romney now making excuses saying, well, the precedent has been in an election year. We do allow the president to do it if his party is the one that's ruling the Senate. And so since his party is ruling the Senate, we're going to go ahead and take this time to do it. So I don't think anybody is holding anybody else accountable now. And regardless of if they do it or not, I mean, I think it still needs to be said that I think that the culture in our politics needs to change a little bit, because I think that there is a lot of egos and narcissists that are in our politics, which is one of the reasons why it's taking a lot of time for our country to move forward in the way it should. We are way behind industrialized countries and social programs, and Europe does it so much better than we do. And they are diehard capitalists. A lot of them, European countries are very diehard capitalists, just like we are. And I think it's because of egos and narcissists.
But
And
Alex, what does lifetime appointment mean? If it's
I think that we probably should revisit that too.
Yeah, well, that's fair. But like, what does it mean to have a lifetime appointment? Again, I don't disagree with your saying. I just think it is right? If I have been, and the other point of this is, right, like the devil you know versus the devil you don't know, right? We know how Ginsburg is going to rule, generally, right? For the most part, we know where she's going to go with this, right? Democrats now, you can't even be sure, Alex, and you know this. Even with Democrats, you can't be sure where they're going to land on issues, because we got some Democrats now that are on some other mess, right? So I think her position was, I don't agree that she should not have thought deeper about what President Obama was asking her as it relates to stepping down. Because to your point, she knew that she was coming up to time. But one example I will give, and I'll leave it here because I don't want to dominate. Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick, as I understand now, from the directors of the different movies that he did, who did not know that he was sick. Some of them have said more silently, not very publicly, that they kind of feel a little slighted because he was sick. At any point, 2 weeks into filming or a year into filming, he would have been an issue for their production of the movie, right? So they feel a little slighted by that. But guess what? If he had told them, we wouldn't have Black Panther. We wouldn't have the Jackie Robinson movie. We wouldn't have these things. So it's this balancing act of, should I step down if I think I can do good all the way up to the hour that I meet my maker? It's a difficult decision to make. The Supreme Court seat is the seat. That is the seat in the country, even more than president. That is the seat. So should I drop out now, or should I just do, and I think Chadwick Boseman was thinking this through the same thing, like, I'm sick, I'm likely going to die, unfortunately, but I have the opportunity to do Black Panther and change the world, which he did. Difficult.
So look, Alex, I hear you. I do. But if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this right, okay?
If
we're gonna do this,
come on, Cletus, your walk over.
We're gonna do this right. So
come on.
A couple of things. I'm gonna say this. I wasn't one of those Democrats who was lauding Mitt Romney for talking trash about Trump on the stump, because I know that white men gonna do what white men gonna do, which is look out for each other. Okay, so to every last one of these Democrats, progressive liberals who were talking about how amazing Mitt Romney was, and he was this and that, and I always liked Romney, and blah 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 blah. You're not only are you cowards, you're untrustworthy, and your logic is not sound. And we shouldn't listen to anything that you ever say again, because he's doing what we knew he was going to do from the beginning. But we wanted to pretend that Mitt Romney was going to go to the Senate and fight Donald Trump and be our champion, because we don't have any champions in the Senate. Because the Democrats in the Senate, I'm not going to call them weak, but it doesn't seem like there's nobody's throwing dotting eyes and busting lips over there, right? And we expected Mitt Romney to go to the Senate and fight for us? Are you serious? Mitt Romney, the person that ran against Barack Obama. If anybody has an axe to grind with the Democratic Party, it's definitely him. So no, I'm not surprised that he's doing what he does. And white men have been changing the rules as they go in America from the beginning of time. They change the rules as they go. They move the finish line every time we get closer to winning. The finish line moves. So I'm confused as to why we're expecting people to act differently than they've always proven themselves every part of history in this country. Right now, we're dealing with the remnants of American society. Like, from the beginning of this country, white men have wrote the rules and changed them as they go. This body is the body that has done that. Look throughout history. When has the United States Senate not written the rules and changed them when Black people or women or any other group got to the finish line? Name one time in history where that has not been the case. So I'm not surprised here. What the problem is not white men right now. The problem is the white people who say they love Black people and gay people and Asian people and brown people and red people and tan people and copper people and polka dot people and striped people and everything in between. They're showing us who they are right now.
Yeah.
We know where we stand. We know where they stand. They're showing us where they stand. It's Mitt Romney is not the problem. Mitt Romney is not the problem. Mitch McConnell is not the problem. Their problem is their cousins who vote Democrat. This is their fight. They need to fix this.
Well, so then I guess we can pivot to the next topic, because I think it kind of hits on some of these issues. We're talking about our country has a long history of trying to get rid of people they feel are not a part of, whatever they want to create in this country. And we found out that there was a whistleblower that said that there's a detention center out in Georgia that is sterilizing the people in the center. And so now the whistleblower was actually a Black woman, which was very interesting to me. And they were talking about how they were forcing them to get hysterectomies inside the detention center. So I remember reading an article about Nancy Pelosi saying that this is really bringing us back to a very dark time in our history, on how people were forced to do things. And I believe there was a time in Oklahoma, where they were sterilizing people who were locked up in facilities for mental health and in jails, so they could not reproduce. What do you guys think about that going on with ICE? And I'll take it to China.
I would use this opportunity to say that Roe v. Wade is going to be contested in the Supreme Court. That's just a matter of fact. Now
You're
that
already ahead of me. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, because it goes back to, right, like the situation with ICE, and you know, with what Leader Pelosi said, Roe v. Wade will be contested in the Supreme Court, and with RBG gone, we do not have the numbers in our favor. And so whoever he nominates, it is going to be interesting. Now, there's a separate conversation. Again, I go back to, you know, whether Democrats should actually be blocking this vote, or whether we should spend our time grilling the heck out of whoever he nominates, right? I think it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to start to see, Alex, exactly what you're talking about with ICE, in a time now where police brutality is on Front Street. You have to recognize that the minute that Roe v. Wade is in contention, even if it is still law, what does that mean for law enforcement? And the people who will be the most impacted or the most confronted by law enforcement when they want to walk into the Planned Parenthood or whatever clinic that offers abortions will be trans men, women of color, women in rural communities, women of low income, folks that look like us, right? So I am concerned that this ICE thing won't just be immigrants, which is horrible, right? It won't just be immigrants. The minute people think that Roe v. Wade is an issue, it might not be law anymore. The police are going to start, unfortunately, I think, wreaking havoc on communities, in marginalized communities. And that is going to be an issue because, unfortunately, marginalized communities, just like immigrants, they don't know their rights. They can't fight for themselves, etc. So I was just using that Roe v. Wade thing to say that I think this ICE thing is going to get much bigger and broader to marginalized communities and not just limited to immigrants.
Oh, wow. I'm trying to make the connection here because I was going to take it to a different point. I was going to say that Republicans were going to try to use this as a way to make it a scare tactic and to change public opinion around abortion and say, see, Planned Parenthood is and was created to sterilize communities of color. That's the reason why we should defund it. That's the reason why we shouldn't have abortions in this country. And so I felt like that was going to they were going to try to use that as talking points. I mean, because it's interesting to me because attitudes towards abortion have changed.
Yeah.
I know I have family members that are very staunchly Christian.
Yeah.
And I feel like in some of the ones that are the most staunchest in my family, it was brought to me the other day. And they were just like, this person completely surprised me. They said that they felt like abortion was wrong for people who were raped. I mean, that they felt like abortion was right for people who were raped and people where the child is killing them. And that was monumental for this person in my family specifically because they are one of the most conservative Christians in my family. So attitudes around, and they come from the United Holy Churches of America, actually. So that's one of the more apostolic, the more stringent ones that's saying that abortion was okay. So it just kind of.
Well, as a person who I feel like because I've worked at Emily's List and NARAL, and like my sort of issue expertise is around reproductive rights and reproductive justice. I will say to your point, it has shifted to the people who are against abortion are still against abortion. But the beautiful thing about the shift has been, okay, I might be against abortion. Tim Kaine is a good example. I might be against abortion, right? Like I wouldn't do that for myself. Or if my wife came to me or if my daughter came to me, I might say, I don't know. This is how I personally feel about it. The shift is though now that people are saying, but I shouldn't make that decision for you. I don't agree. I don't personally agree with it, because it used to be a time where people are like, because I don't agree with it, then I don't agree with it for anybody. Now the shift is, I can recognize that I need to stop thinking that everyone needs to be this way. I just don't agree with it for me, but I don't have enough information about someone else's situation to say that they shouldn't do it. And that is how we get to the 7 in 10. That is how we get to 70% of people approve of reproductive rights, not because they approve of it for themselves, but they agree that the government should not tell someone else what to do with their body, which is a good thing.
What do you think, Rashad?
I have a completely different like vantage point on this. So my vantage point is not necessarily on reproductive justice. My vantage point is from the lens of what does this mean for communities of color across the country, no matter what socioeconomic status and what economic class they're a part of. What does this mean for our public health and our health when we go into hospitals and we don't have amazing health care? What does that mean? Because, when I hear about women being sterilized in these ICE detention clinics, I'm thinking about issues in the 90s and across the country where little black boys were forced to be put on Ritalin, which is known, when they were, anywhere between the ages of 4 and 7. And now they are young adult men who can't have children, right? Because they were exposed to such a harsh drug with such a strong chemical compound at such an early age, and their bodies were developing, and now they can't reproduce, right? I'm thinking of the Tuskegee experiment, where black men were infected with syphilis and were guinea pigs. I'm thinking of the father of gynecology who mutilated the bodies of black women during and post slavery. And so I'm thinking of all of these situations where the bodies of people who look like us um, have been used as test subjects and guinea pigs for medical breakthroughs and medical discoveries, or just to get someone's heinous nature to be exercised. Um, that's what I think about. So I appreciate the policy perspective that you two brought to that, but I'm thinking of very real trauma that African Americans have suffered in this country connected to healthcare.
So do you think, well, yeah, because we're saying that more black women are most likely to die of birth complications than our white counterparts. The list goes on with the health disparities that we have in healthcare as minorities. But as we address some of these issues and we move forward in our country, sometimes I think that this is becoming progressively more traumatizing to us. And I feel like we keep being re-traumatized by situations to remind us of the history. And so we keep getting re-traumatized. And then we have situations of where we have black men over conservative organizations now trying to put out a curriculum that kind of sanitizes the history of America and brushes over the horrible history that we have. And they're trying to promote it as curriculum in our country. So, I guess it's just kind of a weird space to be in for us. And I think that we have to just constantly remind ourselves of what we've gone through in the past so we can continue to try to weed out these situations that kind of show up that are still inside our country. I don't think that we're not that far removed from our past when we see situations like this. And this has happened to our brown brothers and sisters. This facility was housing people who were detained for minor infractions or for immigration issues. And then for their uteruses and for them to not be able to reproduce is absolutely sad. This
is going to carry over, unfortunately. And I'm sure you'll talk about it when it comes up, but the vaccine, right? It's going to be a similar How are we, marketing? My understanding is I haven't received any marketing materials, but my understanding is people are already receiving, and I guess it's low income Black communities and brown, come into our clinic and do this thing for a certain amount of money. My understanding is it's already going on. So this discussion is going to continue even with the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, the issue of healthcare and minority communities is one of that's very sad, and trying to cleanse and eradicate or limit the amount of minorities in this country is a long-standing history that we have had in this country. I just want to say, I mean, because we're coming up on the last 10 minutes of the show, that first, thank you so much, China, for coming on. I guess thank you, Anton, for trying to hang on in there. I think you were having some technical difficulties. Thank you, Ra Shad, for jumping on and filling that space. Everything happens for a reason, right? So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate you guys. I just want you guys to leave us with a closing message of something that's positive for our people, and tell them how they can follow your careers. The last video that I did, and I just want to say too, the last video I did got 2.7 thousand views, so it's growing, like it's crazy. So I just want to thank you guys for coming on and being brave enough to talk about these issues with me. And go ahead and leave with close out something that's positive for the people, and how they can follow your careers. And I will start with you, China.
Yeah, so thank you, Alex, so much again for the opportunity. Congratulations on growing as a platform. As you know, with social media, and I'm actually thinking of starting a YouTube page myself. My understanding is you have to stay consistent. So don't get discouraged. It could take a year even, right? But a lot of these folks who you now see have millions of followers, they were consistent. So please continue to do that. And, you have me anytime that you need. You can follow me. I will say differently than I might have said in the past. I do work at Ford Majority, just how it sounds, FordMajority.com. Please go there and follow us. I think in a time where people might feel, we talked about Kanye West earlier, and folks might not feeling like, either of the presidential options are great for them. I suggest to you, do go out and vote. But I want you to vote from the top all the way down to the bottom. It doesn't take any more than 2 minutes to complete that ballot. I'm telling you, if you do your education and understanding of the candidates ahead of time. So make sure you research who's running from the top all the way down to the bottom of the ballot in your area, in your community, and vote, vote, vote. I want you to vote for Biden, but I am telling you, you will see a much bigger impact and feel like you are contributing more if you hit those down ballot seats. So please, please, please always vote down ballot and get out and vote.
Thank you. Ra Shad?
You can follow me personally by visiting my website, www.iamrashad.com. So that's easy. But you can follow my work with Amplify Action at ampirevote.com. We have a lot of amazing events coming up targeting South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. No matter what state or territory you're in, you can use our website, register to vote, and request your absentee ballot. So please do that as well. I wasn't here when you all spoke about Andrew Gillum, but what I would say is for people who feel like they've been lied to, it really amazes me how people really feel entitled to the personal affairs of individuals' lives. And I get it because of the media and the way we do our government and elections here. We really feel entitled, like we really feel like we know our elected officials and everything. But if this is the stuff that you do know, imagine what you don't know about so many people, right? And I just think that we should be mindful about how we pass judgment on people, because the reality is this: what that man does in his life has nothing to do with us. Was he a great mayor to Tallahassee? Yes or no? And would he have been a great mayor, governor for Florida? Yes or no? Like, we need to be looking at his body of work and his policies. We don't need to be looking at what goes on in his household. He's not beating his wife. He's not abusing his children. The end of the conversation. And I think that we are and the other thing is this, I'm always going to be Black first. The expectation that we have of our Black elected officials and Black community leaders to be perfect, but we don't have that expectation for any other group of people. I mean, there's nothing that Andrew Gillum could ever do that could compare to the travesties that Donald Trump is as an individual. There's nothing Andrew could do. I wouldn't care if Andrew was out here making pornos. There's nothing horrible that he can do that would even begin to scratch what Donald Trump has done and is currently doing. So I just think we need to be, we're really touch and go on these things, but I think we need to take a step back. We really feel entitled to people's lives here. How much stuff do people not know about us? So, that's where I'm at. So I would just encourage people, maybe we need to take a chill pill. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to push back. By no means did Andrew Gillum deserve to go through what he went through. But when you put yourselves on platforms like that,
I completely disagree.
I told you. I said that, Alex.
I disagree.
Like that.
No.
And I would say
no.
And I would say this too.
We can't set that. That's a dangerous precedent to set. Me doing my job in the office, not embezzling the taxpayers' funds, doing my job that I'm elected to do, has nothing to do with how I swing from the chandeliers in my bed.
Rashad, he said that they voluntarily did interviews. They're volunteering their personal information.
With you on that. But we've set a standard in this country to where they had to. Andrew wouldn't have been able to do anything politically moving forward if they didn't do that. Because it was always going to come up.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But I will say this. Andrew Gillum knew that if he put himself on a platform to run for governor, that his life was going to be scrutinized.
Yeah.
Andrew Gillum knew after he lost, when he was constantly hear me out. When he was constantly drinking, that he was going to eventually make a mistake. He admitted that he had a problem and he was constantly drunk. He admitted that his alcoholism started to really increase after the loss. Now, I will say the man does have the right to grieve. I understand what it feels like to lose an election. I understand what it feels like to go through the embarrassment of people laughing at you and you feeling like you're a failure. I understand that completely. But when you put yourself in positions, when you know you have such a high profile of where you are vulnerable to people and you know what the backlash could be, I think that as an adult, you have to take responsibility for that. Now, where me and China disagreed was when he went and did the interview, and where me and you agreed that he had to do that interview for him to come back. Because personally, and this is just, I'm not for divorce at all. But I even think that even if Andrew Gillum and his wife divorced, because it seemed like his wife was still a little bit uncomfortable, you could tell that by the interview. So I think if they divorced,
I get that from that interview, and I watched it.
His wife's face was so tight when she was having conversations. Said, "I'm not sure,"
because she didn't want to have that conversation. But
I want to deal.
She ain't leaving him.
Rashad, that's not true.
Okay.
And I'll call you later. That's not true.
Okay.
It looks like she was.
We can respectfully agree to disagree on that.
Alex, you're right.
She looked like she was highly uncomfortable, and I can understand her position from the public embarrassment of. It's one thing to have a secret in your marriage. It's another thing to deal with the scrutiny of people who are ignorant.
I agree.
And people who are impulsive, and people who do not know boundaries.
So I agree with that. But this is I'm gonna say two things, and I'm gonna let you close the show because I know you're trying to close. So I'm gonna say this: if you ain't have a problem in secret, don't have a problem in public. So I agree with you, and I can understand that. But if you don't have a problem when the door's shut, don't have a problem when the door is open. So that's that. The second thing I'll say is this.
That's not fair.
It's not.
It's very fair. It's very fair.
Not fair.
Well, it don't have to be fair to you. It's fair over here.
If you and I have an agreement, and Rashad, this goes back to the Jada and Will Smith situation, which is why Will Smith was so tight. You could tell. Similarly,
exactly.
He had the same face as RJ in that Tamron Hall interview. If you and I have said this is the agreement that we have within our marriage, that we're going to have threesomes, or I'm going to say you could go with a girl, or whatever we decide within our marriage, that you could cheat on me. But there are multiple relationship situations that we know where we've said, if this got out to the public, it's going to look real crazy. And I don't want to have to explain that to the public. But between you and us, as long as we have an understanding, do your thing. But do not.
I agree with that 100%. But on the flip side, when we do this interview and we go public, don't be acting like you got a problem, because you ain't got a problem.
She does have a problem. It was his freaking mistake. He embarrassed her because
I'm gonna make my second, because y'all not going to get me to agree on that. I'm not changing on that. So I'm gonna make my second point, and then you can close your show.
And hear this. And I'm not even going to like say that I don't have any sympathy for him, because when that man was standing in the background crying at that table, I felt every bit of remorse for him. I understand you make a freaking mistake, and he did it on a national platform. I get it. I felt every bit of sympathy. It was a mistake. But at the same time, even though his intentions may not have been bad, it happened. And she now has to deal with his huge mistake on a huge level. She wasn't the politician. He was. She just wanted her husband back, and she was dealing with his depression and his drinking. Like, I mean,
she has benefited a whole lot from him being a politician. So we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that part. Okay, we have, and we're gonna have to. So I'm gonna make my second point, and I'm gonna let you close your show again.
Go ahead, go to your second point.
So
go ahead.
My last point, you made this comment about platforms and being on different stages, and all I'm saying is this: I don't disagree with you. Okay, I want to be very clear. I don't disagree with you. We make decisions to open ourselves up to those things. But if we're not careful with how we use that logic, then no one should run for anything, because nobody is perfect.
See,
no one is. So if that's the case,
Rashad, you're confusing what he's saying.
No, I heard Alex very clear.
It's one thing for people to find out your business, right? And you tell them, I'm not talking about this because this ain't none of y'all business. Different from when you schedule, there's been a back-to-back of him speaking out publicly. It's different when you go on a press run. Like if I were in this position, I'd say, I'll talk to Barbara Walters. That's the last time y'all gonna hear from me. Don't ask me nothing else about it, because I'm gonna tell you, I already talked to Barbara. So if you want to know anything else, go holler at her. But when you go on this like continuous, I'm going to continue to reveal. I'm going to continue to reveal. Well, then we're going to continue to ask questions. Since you done opened yourself up to revealing, I'm going to continue to ask questions.
I get it. And we all should ask all the questions y'all want, and people can have all the spinoffs they want about this. But to Alex's point about that, what I'm saying is, if we go about that logic, then we shouldn't have elected officials. Nobody should run for anything, because nobody is perfect. I don't know a single perfect elected official. I don't know a single perfect. No, we're talking about the same thing.
We're talking about apples and oranges, man.
We're not talking about apples and oranges. We're literally talking about the same thing.
I understand that nobody's perfect. I understand that people make mistakes. I understand that there needs to be time for reconciliation. I believe that Andrew Gillum can come back into politics and do something great. I definitely agree with that. But what I'm saying to about this is that if you do mess up, you have to deal with the consequences that come along with it. And it's other people's responsibility.
I don't disagree with that. I am not saying that is not
responsibility to make excuses for the mistakes that you make, and especially when it affects somebody directly and personally. Yeah. That's where my thing is. And so when we're talking about politicians and them doing wrong things, I felt bad for Anthony Weiner. When he was running for mayor, he was an amazing advocate in Congress. I thought that he would have been an amazing mayor of New York. This man's out here text messaging prostitutes when he has a wife. Twice.
Yeah.
Dumb, right? He's human though. You put on that platform, you're gonna get all types of people coming at you, approaching you. Bill Clinton with Hillary Clinton, right?
Let's not even talk about him.
No, I'm just bringing up examples. Like, did he deserve to get knocked off or impeached over doing that? When you're in a position of power, you're gonna have people coming at you all the time. No, but still, you cheated on your wife, you deal with that fallout. You put yourself on public platforms. We understand that you're human, that you're going to fall, but you're going to go that high, you're going to fall hard. And it depends on the person that you're with. You know, they're not wrong for feeling whatever type of pain they feel when you make those huge mistakes, because their lives are inevitably affected by it. They did not sign up to be publicly embarrassed and humiliated in front of the whole world. They signed up for having a partner that they loved. They felt that there would be secrets in their marriage.
Allegedly.
Those secrets are not there anymore.
Yeah.
It changes the situation completely. And I'm not married, but I've been in relationships where we had understandings.
That's right.
And when those understandings with public in that relationship, that I could no longer be in that relationship because I will not be embarrassed.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. And maybe that's probably why I'm still single in some aspects. But I mean, that's just the setup of that's the nature of the beast. As a secret, it's one thing. As a public scrutiny and humiliation, and I just don't know. And when you talk about politicians being, all politicians are humans, we get that. But there's some decisions that are made, and if you make those decisions, you're gonna have to deal with those consequences. And I'm gonna go ahead and end on that piece because I feel like we have overstayed.
I'm gonna just say this before you close out.
People are gonna like this, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, obviously I'm in a very small number here and I'm fine with that. But I don't have expectations of people that I don't have of myself. And I think if more people in America adopted that mindset, we'd be a whole lot better off.
It's not reasonable, Rashad. It's not unreasonable.
I think that's extremely reasonable. I don't expect more from you than I expect of myself.
Of course, of course, but you're asking for morality of Americans. You're asking for morality of the masses. It is unreasonable and actually kind of unfair to expect people to have the same morals, values, and standards. Millions, hundreds of millions of people, let's keep it to the United States. It is unreasonable for hundreds of millions of people to think that they're going to have the same morals, values, and standards as you. That's not how we operate.
But it's reasonable for hundreds of millions. But it's reasonable for hundreds of millions of people who expect people to be perfect. Come on now, we want our politicians and our pastors and our leaders to be perfect, but we don't want to be perfect. I ain't got time for that.
Child, you about to make me
for office, Alex, because I don't want people to know what I'm doing at 3:00 in the morning. Because as you, I have an understanding that people might not know that I'm not just wearing this leather at 9 o'clock. I might be wearing it again at 3 a.m. But because I understand that people might not understand why I might be wearing leather at 3 a.m. So I'm going to fall back and just be an advisor and not a politician.
But then at the same time, too, that's your business. If you want to wear leather at 5 a.m., that's your business. But if you decide to run for public office and you have some random person come up to you and have you go into a hotel room that you really don't know, and you drunk and don't know what you're doing, and they take a picture of you doing it, and you wake up and that finds out, whose bad is that?
That's right. You're right, Alex.
And am I supposed to be like, he didn't make a bad decision? No, he did. Well, she did make a bad decision. You know what I'm saying? Now, does she have to live with that decision for the rest of her life? No, but I do acknowledge the bad decision. I do acknowledge that now her family is going to be harassed and everybody's going to be asking her family. Her family didn't sign up for that. Her family was just along for the ride. They knew that she did leather, but now they're being scrutinized about their whole story. But that's not their family's fault. See what I'm saying? Me being a person on the outside looking in, wanting to know what's going on, that's not my fault. You put yourself in my face and said, "Here's
that's the problem. People want to know what's going on. Mind your business.
That's the nature.
Worry about your household.
Business.
Yes.
That's the nature of the beast.
Exactly.
You choose that. Y'all
are giving people excuses to go out here and be raggedy.
Right, we talked about this last night. Andrew Gillum, or whoever, Alex, when he ran for office, is not running to be a car dealership owner. He doesn't deal cars. He doesn't sell cars. I am voting for Alex in major part because of how he makes decisions. And all I can go on, if Alex has never been an elected official for the entire state of Pennsylvania, is how he has made decisions in his personal life. That's all I have to go on. And so, of course, I'm going to ask, how is Alex as a father? How is Alex as a husband? How is Alex as a principal at the school? Because that was the last job that he had before running for office. How does Alex make decisions in his personal life? That's all I have to go on, because I'm electing you now to make decisions for me and my children and my job and what schools they go to and how much milk costs. I'm now asking you to make those decisions for me. So if you are cheating on your wife, I agree with Alex, that shouldn't be held, because a lot of people, way more than 50% or so, cheating on their wife, right? To be clear, to your point, people do that, right? But
and do it well. Okay?
And do it well.
And do it well.
But that goes into the decisions that you are now going to have to make on your whatever legislative body you sit on for me, because Ra Shad, again, you are not making decisions about car dealing. You are making healthcare decisions, decisions that will impact my family and my kids. This isn't dealing cars. This is life impacting decisions that I am electing you to make. And so with Clinton, for example, Clinton wasn't impeached. Well, some would say the technical thing that Clinton was impeached on was the fact that he lied about when I asked you if you cheated on your wife. Not because you cheated on your wife. It's because when we asked you about it, you decided to lie. So now how can we trust you? And I love Bill Clinton, but how can we trust you to make decisions for us when you won't be honest, whether that be with your wife or with the American people? If you can lie to your wife, Ra Shad, I'm a stranger.
Yeah. And by no means, and don't take this as that we don't feel like there needs to be redemption for Andrew Gillum. Correct. I believe wholeheartedly there needs to be redemption for Andrew Gillum, because at the end of the day, between him and his wife, there was no deceit.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
None.
That's right.
None whatsoever. There was no DL foolishness going on. There was no side piece happening. She was fully aware of what he was. According to the interview, he went to go have a drink with one of his friends. He woke up on the bathroom floor throwing up.
He was roofied. He was roofied.
So, yeah.
He was roofied.
So, I don't.
Him a Mickey.
Alex, go with it. Ra Shad was sent the talking points and we were not. So let's go. He was roofied. Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh.
He's a saint. He's a
victim
here. He is a victim.
I believe he is. You can't tell me anything different. I will believe what he says. Just like if Barack Obama told me that the sky was orange every morning, I'd be going out there trying to figure out how the sky is orange.
Well, it is orange if you go to Asia. I done been to Thailand. The sky is orange, purple, and pink, and it's beautiful.
You know, and that's how we move. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for this. I appreciate you and y'all ministries. We will definitely have some side conversations. I will see y'all another time. Thank you so much. And bye.
Yeah, it's bye.
Ooh, so, y'all. Yeah, so thank you for watching Talks with Alex. We are here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. This was kind of a more fun show. This was like a powwow with my friends. This is what we do when we're on the phone. Yeah, this will be my closing word. Be kind to yourself and be kind to other people. when bad things happen, there should always be space and room for redemption. You should treat and forgive people like you want to be forgiven. We all make mistakes at some point in our lives, and we should treat people how we want people to treat us if we made that same mistake. I'm learning that lesson as I get older, and there is really never any real black and white, and there's always gray area, and you never really know what's going on in other people's lives. All right, guys, love yourself. Follow me on Talks with Alex on YouTube. You can follow my Facebook channel, Alex Deering. You can follow me on Instagram, j.alex.deering. You can follow me on Twitter, Deering_Alex. All right. Please follow, comment, share, like. Come back, watch next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Thank you so much, and you have a great night.